Diogenes, often known as Diogenes the Cynic or Diogenes of Sinope. He was born around 412 or 404 BC around the Black Sea coast. He died around 323 BC in Corinth. He was a Greek philosopher who helped establish Cynic philosophy. The Cynics believed that the objective of life is to live in virtue, in harmony with nature. People, as rational creatures, can achieve happiness through hard training and living in a way that is natural for them, rejecting all conventional goals for wealth, power, and celebrity, and even openly rejecting standard social conventions in public. They were instead to live a modest life, free of all goods. As a child, he assisted his father in minting coinage for the colony, that is, until they were both deported for tampering with the coins. Gold and silver, those are. Diogenes traveled to Corinth on the Greek mainland. He appeared to have snapped almost as soon as he arrived, though. After losing his job, Diogenes adapted to life as a homeless beggar. He willingly threw away everything that he owned, except for a few clothes to cover his nakedness and a wooden bowl for food and drink. Diogenes elevated poverty to a virtue. He begged for a living and frequently slept in the marketplace in a very large ceramic jar. Some say it was a wine barrel of sorts. He saw the concept of manners as a fraud and called for complete honesty at all times and in all circumstances. He frequently sat in on Plato's classes, eating as noisily as he could the entire time in order to disrupt the lectures. He had heated philosophical debates with Plato and would occasionally take care of himself in public. He went to the bathroom whenever and wherever he was pleased to do so, including on Plato's stool inside his own academy. In his famous quest for an honest man, his goal was to expose the hypocrisy and sham of polite societal standards. He would hold a lantern up to the faces of people in Athens in broad daylight, and he compelled people to recognize their participation in activities that kept them from living authentically. His actions actually prompted others to follow in his footsteps. He usually ate whatever he could get his hands on from the ground. He fed the scraps to the dogs that followed him everywhere, even in Plato's seminars. He was regarded as one of the wisest philosophers in all of Greece. He was known for his brutal honesty in conversation, paid no attention to social class etiquette, and he did appear to have had no problem criticizing activities that were deemed normal and that everyone engaged in. Diogenes' actions were influenced in part by the concept that if an act is not shameful in private, it should not be shameful in public. The norms by which people lived were illogical, in that they drove people to behave in ways that they would not have done naturally. He saw manners and etiquette both staples of the fake life and things that just shouldn't be practiced. A reasonable life, according to Diogenes, is one lived in conformity with nature and one's natural inclinations, and to be loyal to oneself no matter how crazy you appear to be, and to live a life worth living. He believed in God's existence. He was, however, opposed to the Greek manner of worship and their views of God. He believed that God was sacrosanct and had nothing to do with human existence. It's hard to know which of the legends about Diogenes are accurate, but one thing is certain: almost all of them depict the man's broad character, including ethical seriousness. Despite his disruptive nature, he had a huge influence on ancient philosophy. According to legend, Diogenes and Alexander the Great passed away on the same day in 323 BC, one having conquered the world and thereby extending the reach of Greek civilization, and the other having completely violated civilized society's rules. The two men did meet in passing during their lifetimes, and there's many amazing stories and works of art depicting that meeting. According to popular belief, the two had a brief encounter in Corinth, where Diogenes lived in his twilight years. According to legend, Alexander stepped over the philosopher and declared, "I am Alexander the Great." To which Diogenes replied, "I am Diogenes the dog." Alexander asked Diogenes if there was anything that he could do for him. Diogenes replied, "Stand back and stop blocking the light," as he was relishing in the warmth of the full sun. It's believed that Diogenes lived to be 90 years old. His cause of death is not 100% certain, but it's thought to have resulted from either severe food poisoning from eating raw ox foot, rabies from a dog bite, or suicide by holding his breath. These are interesting things with JC.